Actions in Photoshop allow us to record a number of menu commands to speed up those tasks we need to do often. Quite a number of actions are supplied with the Photoshop software, but the actions we create ourselves are going to be much more relevant to our needs. So I'm going to make a start by going to my Windows menu and bring in the Actions palette on screen. We don't need this on screen to run an action, just to record it, so I'll just park it on the right here while we're working. Now here there's quite a number of default actions that come with Photoshop. But what we're going to do from the top right here is to make a new set. Now we can call this anything we wish, and I'll just call it Barry's. But within that set, we can create as many actions as we like. Now what I'm about to do here is to create an action that takes a finished image that I've just worked through Adobe Camera Raw. Now it could be a smart object, it could have many layers, it could have layer masks, and it's certain to be a 16-bit file. So what I'm going to do here is go back to the top right here. As long as I've got my set highlighted, within the set I'm going to make a new action. So first up, we're asked to give the action a name. Now as you can see, I've just typed the name finished in there, but to be honest, the name isn't the important part for me. It's the function key. So in this little drop down menu, I'm going to select my standard F9, which I've had set for this function for quite some years. But I also want to have the control key as well. So control F9 will run the action we're about to record. We don't need to add a color, but the colors refer to buttons. When we change our action into the button mode, we'll see the colors. They're not significant, they're not important, they do not change how the action works. Now we can click record, and down at the bottom of the actions palette, we'll see the record light come on. So I'm going to start by going to my layers menu at the top left of the screen, because if we flatten the image, we'll take care of most of what we want to do. Let's go down to flatten image. That will take care of the smart objects and also the extra layers and the layer mask. Now I need to go to my image menu because I want to save this as an 8-bit object, not a 16-bit. So we'll change it to 8-bit. Now I need to save this into the location of my finished folder. Now for the sake of this video, I've just produced 2 folders on my desktop, but of course they could be placed anywhere on your computer. So File, Save as a Copy. I'll go to my desktop. In my finished images for 2024, I've got a folder for January, folder for February. We're still in February, only just the last day. So when I open this up, all I need to do now is to change the save as type to JPEG. I'm going to save that at a maximum quality of 12 and click OK. Now I need to make a second save to my Flickr folder ready for posting in my galleries. Flickr sometimes shows the images against a dark background, so I like a thin line around the outer edge. So I'm going to go to my Select menu. Choose Select All, there's the marching ants, then the Edit menu and Stroke. I want 3 pixels in a mid-tone grey. It looks as if it's going to be too dark, but it actually isn't. I've used this quite a bit. Placed on the inside of the line, I can click OK. I'll hit Ctrl D to remove that marching ant so you can see the line is in place, and now I need to save this into my Flickr folder. So once again, File, Save as a Copy, and I'll go to my desktop, to Flickr, once again changing to a JPEG, and saving this also at compression 12. But finally, I'm going to close this down, and no, I don't need to save it again. I've got 2 versions saved, and I've got the raw file as well. Then I can stop my action. Now, having finished the recording, I can close the actions palette down because I don't need it, and you'll notice we've got a different image on screen because what we need to do now is to test our action. And of course, all I need to do that is to hit the Control and F9. And you'll see how long it takes to do this. There you are, complete. Now, my estimation is that took about 2 seconds. What I've done here is to use Bridge to navigate to my desktop and to my finished images for 2024. So I'm going to go to my February folder because we should see 2 images here. Here's the one we used to record the action, and here's the one we used to test it. And if I drop down to my Flickr folder, we should see the same 2 thumbnails, although these thumbnails have a fine line around the outer edge. Let's open up this last one to just take a look, and there we can see it. Now, with a different image open on screen, let's take a look at button mode. I need to go to my Windows and open up the Actions palette once again. I suppose the downside of button mode is we do need to have the Actions palette on screen, but of course I could pick up this tab and drop it alongside those that I use from day to day. Personal choice. But up at the top right here, we can click and we can choose button mode. And now to run this action, all I need to do is to press the button. But we do get a reminder of the keyboard shortcut too. So if I click finish, there it is, done in an instant. One thing to remind you though, you cannot record a new action in button mode, so you would have to come out of that, just remove the tick. And if, as an afterthought, you wanted to add a colour, you can select the action, and from the options we want to, where is it what I'm looking at? Action options. And we get that panel up we had when we first created it. So here, for example, if I wanted to make it blue, okay. So when we open up and we see it in button mode, well, it's hardly blue, but it looks bluish, but it looks a bit more mauve to me, but you get the idea. Our own actions save us a whole heap of time. Now we can record an action to do almost anything. And just as an example here, I've got one that's going to add a white frame around this image and add a black line to the edge of the image. So in a moment when I hit Control and F10, the first thing that the action does is to remove the lock to the right of the layer thumbnail. It then expands the canvas 30% in height and 20% in width. It then creates a blank layer and positions that layer beneath the image you're seeing here. It then floods that layer with white. Reselecting the image, it adds a 15 pixel line in black on the inside. And finally, it flattens all the layers together to give us the finished action. So I'm going to hit Control and F10. And there you can see the instant result. And just to test our other action, I'll hit Control and F9. If we're going to use an action that creates a white background, we do need to have or pick images where it suits. So once again, with this version, Control F10, going to put the frame around the edge, and Control and F9 is going to do the save. Let's take a quick look to finish this video. So taking a quick look in Bridge into those same folders we looked at before, there we can see the balloons which we triggered with the button, and the other 2 we've just done, and Flickr is the same. I'll see you next time.